The Miracle on the Sands, the 1967 Six-Day War. This is a battle for the motherland, and it is either we or the Israelis who will win it. Some members of the ancient Jewish people of Palestine may make it, but I have the distinct conviction that none of them will survive. Ahmad Shakiri, June 1, 1967. The Israeli military launched a preemptive strike against the hostile nations of Egypt, Jordan, and Syria 4 days after the first chairman of the Palestine Liberation Organization, Shukri, predicted the imminent annihilation of the State of Israel. Shukri predicted that the State of Israel would be destroyed shortly. Their assault came after several weeks of openly aggressive behavior on their part, during which Egypt blocked off the Straits of Tiran, amassed soldiers on the Israeli border, and made a defense treaty with Jordan. Their attack followed this behavior. These acts, in conjunction with the bellicose language of Arab leaders, pointed to a three-pronged invasion to wipe the State of Israel off the map. Then, on the morning of June 5, 1967, Israeli planes attacked and annihilated the Egyptian Air Force, which marked the beginning of a confrontation that would culminate 6 days later in a stunning victory for Israel. The Israelis would go on to win the war. The conflict, which was referred to in Arabic as an Nex, or the setback, claimed roughly 25,000 lives and expanded Israeli territory by a factor of 2. Edward Gibson Lanfer, who worked at the time in the visa section of the Embassy of the United States in Tel Aviv, recalled his experiences working there during this historic confrontation and his conversations with Israeli military officials about their astounding performance in an interview that began in June 2002 with Charles Stewart Kennedy. You should also learn about the bloody beginnings of the State of Israel as well as the time when Israel attacked the USS Liberty during the Six-Day War. Learn about the efforts that were made to negotiate an end to the Yom Kippur War. Lanfer, when I arrived there, in Tel Aviv, in January, there were stories about intrusions and firings across the line between Israel and Syria around the Sea of Galilee, but everything seemed to be under control overall. When I think back to those early days, January through March of 1967, the thing that stands out most to me is that Israel was experiencing a severe economic downturn. People appeared to be in a pretty bad mood. In those days, the nation was dominated by socialist ideals to a significant degree. It wasn't viable from a financial standpoint. Because I was given the role of immigrant visa officer when I first started working there, I was privy to this information regularly. I witnessed a constant flow of Israelis entering the building in search of visas to enter the United States. After talking to them, I found out that they were leaving due to economic concerns. The populace of the nation was despondent. As tensions rose, Arab rhetoric began to emerge, and the region's leaders blocked passage across the Strait of Tiran. The likelihood that a conflict would escalate into a full-scale war increased significantly. In the final week of May, the United States government issued a warning to all American citizens to not travel to Israel and to leave the country immediately if they were already there. I was put in charge by Cliff English of the evacuation of American people, which included the distribution of repatriation loans. I busted my tail for 10 days straight, and we were able to get a large number of American citizens out of the country between the 23rd of May and the 5th of June. At the United Nations General Assembly, he said, "Nobody in Israel between the 23rd of May and the 5th of June will ever forget the air of foreboding that hovered over our country." Israel was confronted with the greatest threat to her existence since the moment of her birth. Israel was hemmed in by hostile armies that were ready to strike, affronted and beset by a flagrant act of war. Bombarded day and night by predictions of our approaching extinction, forced into total mobilization, her economy and commerce beating feebly, and her main supplies of fuel choked by a belligerent act. It was a choice between living and dying, between defending the nation's right to exist and giving up that right forever. Marshal Abdul Hamid Amr nods in rapid agreement with Lieutenant General Mahmoud Siddiqui as he glances at the wristwatch on his left arm. They are precisely on time, so the answer is yes. On the morning of Monday, June 5, 1967, the time is precisely 8:00 a.m. It is a pleasant and sunny morning. In a matter of seconds, their Ilyushin 14 shakes only slightly as it flies around Cairo International Airport and then turns east toward the Sinai Peninsula. The Marshal displays a grin. Upon completion of this final inspection visit of the Sinai front, I will have successfully cut off the Arabs' military ring around the Israeli cities and plains. Every one of Egypt's forward bases is currently waiting for the Marshal to arrive. There is a directive that states, "No incoming planes are to be fired upon by ANTI, aircraft or missile sites this morning." This directive has been issued. The vehicle that had been manufactured in Russia proceeded without incident toward the Bur the Mata air base. Suddenly, the radiophone picks up a garbled transmission that reads, "The airbase is currently under attack." In a matter of seconds, the runways were destroyed by the bombing, and dozens of MiG-17s, MiG-19s, and Tu-16s were found mangled and ablaze in the rubble. Amr looks at his watch once again. The time is exactly 8:45, the precise moment that Israel launched their lightning strike with around 500 fighter bombers. Egypt's vice president shrieks, "Impossible!" at the idea. "So, now they've come," is the response given by Chief Sidki of the Air Force. Immediate interactions with 19 Sinai airfields add to their growing sense of dread. A pilot reports to Marshal that there is no place for them to land. They are kept hostage in the air for the next half an hour till they finally return to Cairo International Airport in an outraged and furious state. They have been defeated in the air war, and there is nowhere for them to go. Within a short amount of time, Lieutenant General Sidki will be sentenced to 15 years in prison for malfeasance in office, and Marshal Amr will commit suicide. During the remarkable flight that they took, 25 Egyptian airfields and missile sites were taken out of commission, 290 ultra-modern planes were destroyed, and all first responses were rendered ineffective by an inexplicable and astounding command to don't fire. The cost to Israel was 12 pilots and 15 planes. Israeli pilots rarely missed their targets when flying over the glare-prone desert of the Sinai Peninsula. Even though several of them flew 7 or 8 missions into battle each day, their aircraft maintained an incredible 99% operational capability throughout the entire war. The Israeli tank forces advanced across the hot sands of Sinai for 4 days in the direction of the Suez Canal, withdrew, and then returned without needing any reinforcements at any point in the operation. They were shocked by the miracle of a little army with partly outmoded weaponry trouncing a big army with modern, sophisticated equipment, said specialists from other countries' militaries. They would not have believed it if they had not witnessed the battlegrounds with their own eyes. It seemed as if an invisible hand or maybe an invisible army was assisting them in some way. At the end of this video, tell us how was the video? Did you enjoy it? Post your feedback in our comment section below, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more updates.